Tell me why the internet woke up today acting like they just discovered the final boss of political drama because, baby, this right here is not a leak, it's a full-blown detonation. Yes, you heard that right. Kimberly Guilfoyle's leaked audio didn't just drop. It erupted, it exploded, it broke the little oxygen left in the political influencer space. And the star of this mess? Erika Kirk, whispering no, allegedly plotting a plan to literally take down her own husband. The one and only Charlie Kirk, like she's auditioning for a Lifetime movie titled How to Eliminate Your Man in 3 Easy Steps. But wait before you clutch your pearls, your popcorn, or your burner phone. Riddle me this. When has a scandal ever been this messy, this detailed, and this cinematic? Who in their right mind thought letting Kimberly Guilfoyle near a recording device was a good idea? And why does this audio sound less like political strategy and more like a deleted scene from House of Cards, Influencer Edition? Because if what's being claimed is even halfway true, then honey, this isn't just drama. This is sabotage, betrayal, and marital warfare wrapped in a conservative bow. Buckle up. It's about to get dark. From the moment that audio slipped out of whatever shadowy group chat or locked vault it was hiding in, the entire political influencer industry practically passed out from shock. Because this wasn't your average messy conversation or a couple of spicy texts that accidentally leaked. No, this was Kimberly Guilfoyle of all people holding a recording that sounded less like casual gossip and more like a blueprint for removing Charlie Kirk from his own throne. And the wildest this video? The voice on the other end sounded eerily like Erika Kirk herself. The woman people have spent years calling the conservative princess, the quiet wife, the behind-the-scenes strategist. But now suddenly she's the whispered mastermind of a plan so dark, so twisted, so deliberately constructed that folks are rewinding the clip like it's a hidden prophecy. Because if this audio is real, if these words truly came out of Erika's mouth, then we're looking at one of the biggest influencer betrayals since the rise and fall of every fake power couple on every reality show ever made. People always suspected cracks in the Kirk empire, tiny fractures beneath the perfect Instagram lighting and perfectly curated couple branding. But nobody thought those cracks would lead here. Nobody imagined the whispers were this deep. Nobody expected Kimberly Guilfoyle to be the unofficial archivist of political chaos, casually sitting on recordings that sound like murder plans delivered in influencer-approved tone. But see, the thing about Erika Kirk is that she has always played the role of the golden wife, soft-spoken, polished, supportive in the kind of way that keeps her image squeaky clean. Meanwhile, Charlie walks around like he's the self-appointed CEO of Young Conservative Nation, passing out opinions like discount flyers. So when this audio dropped, the entire internet hit pause. Because suddenly, Erika wasn't the background wife. She wasn't the supportive spouse. She wasn't the glittering accessory to Charlie's empire. She was the strategist. She was the planner. She was the one allegedly discussing how to eliminate the one man who built the brand she lives inside of. And baby, the timeline started melting immediately. People pulled up old photos where they stood just a little too far apart. Clips from interviews where Erika's smile looked a little too rehearsed. Quotes where Charlie bragged a little too much about being the leader, while Erika stood there blinking like she'd heard the speech 100 times. And suddenly, everybody started asking the same question. Was this marriage always a political alliance? Was this partnership a temporary truce? And most importantly, has Erika been waiting, planning, watching for the perfect moment to take him down from the inside, like a spy who married into the enemy camp? And then there's Kimberly Guilfoyle Kimberly, who never met a dramatic moment she didn't want to amplify. Why was she recording this? Why was she even in the same room? And why does she sound, in the background of the leaked audio, like someone who's listening way too closely? Some people swear you can hear her adjusting the phone to get a clearer angle. Others think she knew exactly what she was capturing. And honestly, with Kimberly, anything is possible. She's the type who would casually record world-ending secrets while applying eyeliner in a moving car. But let's focus on the actual content of the leak. The alleged audio has Erika discussing removing influence. getting him out of the picture and taking back control. Now, in normal marriages, that might sound like therapy talk, maybe a divorce conversation, maybe even a little venting. But when you're dealing with public figures who thrive on their platforms, their followers, and their political power, phrases like getting him out of the picture aren't just spicy, they're nuclear. People heard those words and immediately jumped to the darkest possible interpretation. And honestly, the phrasing didn't help. It had that cold, calculated softness that people associate with someone who has already rehearsed the plan in their head. Someone who's no longer questioning. Someone who's ready, and this is why the internet went wild. Because Erika is not the type people expect to be plotting anything. If Charlie Kirk had been caught saying something scandalous, nobody would have been surprised. His entire brand lives on the edge of chaos. But Erika? She has always hovered above the mess, floating in an aura of curated calm. Which means this leak didn't just break her image, it shattered it. It cracked her brand open like an eggshell and spilled out a side of her the public never imagined existed. And once you show people a new version of someone, they can never unsee it. That's why investigations began instantly. Not real ones, oh no, the internet's favorite kind. TikTok investigators with ring lights. Twitter detectives who connect dots that don't exist. Reddit theorists building pie charts with absolutely no math. And every single one of them was saying the same thing. If Erika was brave enough to say it out loud, even in a private setting, then how long has she been thinking it? How deep does this plan go? And what exactly was she planning to do next? Which brings us to the moment where the tension becomes unbearable. Because if this conversation was only the beginning, then what comes after could be even more dangerous, even more calculated, even more shocking, and that is exactly where. The next part of this unfolding chaos begins as we step straight into the breakdown of what the leaked audio truly contained and how the public reacted when the full context, if we can even call it that, finally came into the spotlight. Because once the audio started spreading, people didn't just listen, they dissected it like it was the Zapruder film. Frame by frame, breath by breath. Every pause, every sigh, every soft shift in Erika's tone was treated like evidence in the trial of the century. And the first thing conspiracy investigators noticed was how calm she sounded. Not angry, not emotional, calm, too calm. The kind of calm that doesn't come from impulse or frustration, but from certainty, from preparation, from a plan that's already lived in her mind long before the recording captured it. The public took that calm tone and ran with it. Suddenly, timelines were flooded with slow-motion breakdowns. Listen at the 0:17 mark. Why did her voice drop? Why does Kimberly shuffle right after Erika says, the picture? Is that a second voice whispering something, or is it just audio compression? The theories were spiraling so fast that people forgot this wasn't a Netflix documentary. It was a leaked clip barely a minute long, but that didn't matter. Because when a narrative is this explosive, the truth becomes a background character. People started digging into Erika's past like they were uncovering hidden archives. Old interviews resurfaced where she talked about the importance of leading with integrity and taking back spaces from ego-driven voices. At the time, these phrases came off as motivational, maybe even empowering. But now, people were replaying the clips with menacing background music and captions like, "Was this the warning sign?" Suddenly, everything she ever said became a clue. A breadcrumb, a red flag people claimed they always saw but conveniently never mentioned until now, and then came the anonymous sources. Because of course they did. First it was an insider close to the Kirk family, which could mean literally anyone, including a neighbor's Uber driver. This anonymous insider claimed Erika had been feeling strategically sidelined for years and had been looking for ways to reclaim her rightful influence within the conservative space. That one phrase, reclaim her rightful influence, sent the internet spiraling. People started drawing charts. Actual charts. Red arrows, circles, connecting Erika's name to every person she's ever been photographed with. Like she was the mastermind of a political version of Pretty Little Liars. Another anonymous source. This time, someone claiming to be familiar with the dynamics of turning point insisted that Charlie had become increasingly controlling of public messaging, pushing Erika out of key decisions and overshadowing her contributions. Whether true or not, it added gasoline to the already growing fire. Suddenly, everyone believed Erika was the silent victim turned secret strategist, ready to reclaim her voice even if that meant removing Charlie from the picture completely. But the biggest twist came when a third unnamed source claimed the audio Kimberly recorded was not the only one. According to this mysterious figure, Kimberly had been keeping receipts for months, possibly long. Then Twitter or X or whatever we're pretending to call it this week jumped into the mix. Hashtags exploded out of nowhere. Hashtag Erika exposed. Hashtag Kirk chaos. Hashtag Guilfoyle leaks. People started choosing sides like it was a political custody battle. Some claimed Erika was being framed. Others said she was finally showing her true colors. And a very loud minority insisted the recording was AI generated because apparently everything that causes chaos must now be blamed on artificial intelligence. Meanwhile, the political influencer community was split down the middle. Some of Charlie's allies rushed to defend him. POSING statements about loyalty, trust, and the dangers of being surrounded by disloyal forces. Others stayed suspiciously silent, which only made people more convinced they knew something bigger was coming. And then there were those few fringe commentators who seemed almost excited, as if this scandal was the plot twist they needed to boost their own engagement. What really shook people, though, were the alleged quotes circulating from individuals who witnessed changes in Erika over the past year. One claimed she had become more assertive, more ambitious, more strategic. Another said she had been carving her own path away from Charlie's shadow. And then there was the one quote everyone kept screenshotting. Erika always knew she could run the empire better than Charlie. Was it real? Probably not. Was it viral? Absolutely not, and yet, through all this noise, real or fabricated, one question started echoing louder than everything else. If this audio was only one part of a larger plan, then what exactly was Erika preparing to do next? And more importantly, what consequences would Charlie face once the full context of this leak shattered whatever remained of their carefully crafted public image? Because as the rumors grew darker and the analysis became more intense, the fallout was already beginning to form in the shadows, building pressure, waiting for its moment to explode as we step straight into the next phase of this unraveling storm where the consequences begin to take shape. Because once the fallout started creeping out from behind the smoke, it became clear that this wasn't just another scandal people would forget in 2 days. This wasn't a minor misstep, a leaked text message, or a clumsy tweet. This was a full structural collapse of the Kirk brand, and the shockwaves were already hitting every corner of the political influencer machine. The conversations were no longer about what Erika allegedly said. They were about what those words could trigger. And suddenly the whispers grew louder. Investigations, legal inquiries, internal probes, and even quiet discussions about whether Charlie could survive this level of damage without stepping down from something. Maybe not officially, maybe not immediately, but symbolically, because a leader who can't control his own house can't control a movement built on power. The first signs of trouble appeared when reports surfaced, again, from conveniently anonymous but suspiciously confident sources, that Turning Point advisors had been meeting behind closed doors, not to discuss the leak itself, but to evaluate the stability of its public leadership. That phrasing alone was enough to break the internet. Evaluate, stability, public leadership. Nobody needed a translator. Everyone understood exactly what it meant. They were preparing for the possibility that Charlie might become a liability. And if there's anything political movements hate more than bad press, it's a liability who drags the whole machine down with him. Then rumors spread that lawyers were already circling around the situation like vultures waiting for the first sign of collapse. Some said Charlie was considering legal action against whoever leaked the audio. Others claimed Erika was meeting with her own legal team to protect her interests. A few even suggested Kimberly herself might be dragged into some kind of inquiry about why she was recording conversations in the first place and whether the leak violated any laws. Whether any of this was real didn't matter. What mattered was how quickly the public believed it. Because in scandals like these, perception is more powerful than truth, and perception was shifting fast. Some people started framing Erika as a cold mastermind, a strategist who played the long game, who waited until the perfect moment to undermine Charlie's influence. Others rewrote the narrative completely, casting her as a trapped wife finally breaking free from a controlling husband, whispering her plan to someone she trusted. And then there were the third group, the chaos theorists, who believed this was all part of a much bigger internal war within the conservative content machine. According to them, Erika wasn't acting alone and Charlie wasn't the only target. This leak was just the first domino dot, while the public argued about motives, consequences, villains, and victims. Sponsors and donors, the people who actually make the conservative influencer world function, were quietly panicking. They hate instability. They hate unpredictability. And most of all, they hate scandals they can't control. Emails allegedly leaked from donor circles showed people questioning whether Charlie was still a safe investment. Others wondered whether Erika would emerge stronger and become the new political darling. That idea alone sent shockwaves through the ranks. Because Erika stepping into the spotlight meant years of carefully curated branding flipping overnight. Meanwhile, Kimberly Guilfoyle stayed suspiciously quiet. Not a statement, not a denial, not even a snarky comment. And the longer she stayed silent, the more people started assuming she had more recordings tucked somewhere safe. The fear of what she might release next kept everyone involved on edge. Imagine living in a world where Kimberly Guilfoyle is the keeper of your darkest secrets. Terrifying. And then came the most dramatic twist of the entire fallout. Rumors that federal investigators were monitoring the situation because of the language used in the recording. The phrase, "taking him out of the picture," became the centerpiece of online debates about whether the leak suggested a metaphorical takedown or something far more serious. Legal analysts on YouTube, some real, most fake, began posting breakdowns about how certain phrases could be interpreted as intent. People were quoting legal statutes they had Googled 5 minutes earlier. And of course, every influencer with a ring light was speculating whether Charlie needed police protection or whether Erika was about to face charges, but the investigation angle didn't stop there. A few outlets reported that Turning Point's board was considering launching an internal ethics probe into both Charlie and Erika to figure out what went wrong and how deeply the marriage problems were affecting the organization. Others hinted that donors were demanding transparency. And transparency, in situations like this, often leads to resignations, or at least temporary leaves of absence, which everyone knows is PR language for good luck recovering from this. By this point, the entire conservative influencer ecosystem felt like a building with faulty wiring sparking, flickering, and seconds away from burning to the ground. Charlie's supporters were exhausted. Erika's defenders were energized. And the general public? Oh, they were entertained. Because nothing grabs attention like a political power couple crumbling from the inside as the dust settled. Barely one final question hung over everything like smoke after an explosion. What happens now? Does Charlie cling to his crown even as cracks appear everywhere? Does Erika reinvent herself as a lone wolf powerhouse, stepping out from the shadow of the empire she once helped uphold? And what about Kimberly? Does she strike again with another recording, another spark, another explosion waiting to go viral? Because if this is what one leaked audio clip did, imagine what the next one could destroy. And that lingering fear, that suspended tension, that anticipation for the next twist is exactly why the conclusion of this story only gets darker, deeper, and more unpredictable from here. So now the only question left is this: after everything that's exploded, after the empire cracked, after the whispers turned into screams and the leaks started flowing like a waterfall nobody can turn off, what do you think actually happens next? Does Charlie claw his way back to the top, despite half the internet calling him finished? Does Erika step forward as the unexpected mastermind everyone underestimated for years? Or is Kimberly sitting somewhere with a phone full of recordings, waiting to drop this video the moment things calm down just a little too much? Because let's be honest, this story doesn't feel over. It feels like the first spark in a wildfire that's still spreading, but I want to hear from you. Do you think the leak was real, staged, manipulated, or part of a bigger political play? Who's the real villain here? Who's the real mastermind? And more importantly, who's about to fall next? Drop your theories, your conspiracies, your predictions in the comments, because this is one of those scandals where the audience might just be smarter than the players. If you want more explosive breakdowns like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next leak could drop any second.